the early 1900s, the city of New Orleans was a melting pot of cultures with people from all walks of life living side by side. One of the largest immigrant communities in the city was the Italian community, many of whom worked as grocers or in other small businesses. But in 1918, a dark cloud descended over the city as a series of brutal axe murders began to terrorize the Italian community. Grocers and their families were being killed in their homes and stores, and the killer was never seen or caught. As the murders continued, panic began to spread throughout the city. People were afraid to leave their homes, and business owners installed new locks and security measures in an attempt to protect themselves. The New Orleans Police Department was under immense pressure to catch the killer, but they had little to go on. There were no eyewitnesses to the crimes, and the killer seemed to strike randomly, with no obvious pattern or motive. The media began to refer the killer as the Axeman, and speculation about his identity and motives ran rampant. Was he a former employee seeking revenge? A hired assassin sent to intimidate the Italian community? In an effort to solve the case, the New Orleans Police Department brought in detectives and forensic experts from other cities. They scoured crime scenes for clues, interviewed witnesses, and analyzed the victims' bodies for any sign of the killer's identity. But despite their efforts, the case remained unsolved. The Axeman continued to strike fear into the hearts of New Orleans residents, leaving a trail of bloodshed and terror in his wake. Then, in 1999, the Axeman struck again, murdering Charles and Rosie. In the wake of the Contimilgia murders, the New Orleans Times-Picayune newspaper received an unexpected letter from the Axeman himself. In it, he claimed responsibility for the murders and promised to strike again unless the citizens of New Orleans held a jazz party that night. The letter read, in part, "I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. I will be in town and I will be at all the dance halls. If everyone has a jazz band going, I will not be able to resist." The citizens of New Orleans were understandably skeptical of the letter's authenticity, but many decided to take the Axeman at his word. Jazz parties broke out across the city that night, with revelers hoping to appease the Axeman and avoid becoming his next victim. And as he promised, the Axeman never struck again. The murders stopped as abruptly as they had begun, leaving the city to wonder whether the Axeman had been caught, killed, or simply disappeared into the night. Despite extensive investigations and theories, the identity and motives of the Axeman remain a mystery to this day. And years after the Axeman reigns of terror, the city of New Orleans slowly began to heal. People resumed their lives, and the fear that had once gripped the city subsided. But the memory of the Axeman never faded. In fact, his legend only grew as time went on. He was featured in news articles, books, and even a popular song called The Mysterious Axe Jars. To this day, many true crime enthusiasts and historians believe that the Axeman was a serial killer who simply moved on to other cities, where he continued to commit his heinous crime undetected.